In Venezuela, President Nicolás Maduro denounced that the far right insists on its plans against social peace. In Palestine, the Israeli government announced plans to encircle occupied East Jerusalem by expanding a block of settlements that will house 100,000 Jewish citizens over the next 4 years. And in Somalia, at least 9 people were killed and 20 others injured after a terrorist car bomb attack in the capital, Mogadishu. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR Studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Venezuela, President Nicolás Maduro denounced that the far right insists on its plans against social peace. He voted and reaffirmed his call for a great national front against fascism. During a large rally of the Polyhedron of Caracas, the revolutionary forces joyfully received the president, backing his candidacy and rejecting the unilateral U.S. sanctions. The candidate for the Great Patriotic Poll thanked the people for their support to defeat the actions of the far right and promised to continue working for the national welfare. Maduro also condemned the fascist plans of the right-wing domestic sectors that intended to sabotage the electric service and generate violence against the population for their personal interest of taking office.
I have to defend peace because of the threats that you know. Some of them are openly known, and others are known to me. We know them, and we are 24/7 watching over peace because they have some goals. The electric war is their target, and they have some goals in what they're going to do, which we won't allow them to do. But if they were to do it, it would be perhaps the worst mistake they could make. I tell you very clearly, they are the far right wing. They are, as we call them. You know Diosdado, they are abusive, arrogant egocentrists. They believe that the world, arrogant is the word, they think that the world is their oyster, the ego of their last names. They think that they are the eighth wonder of the world, of the far right world, so the world has to surrender at their feet. That time won't come back to Venezuela.
The National Electoral Council continues audits of the electoral machines with respect to software and hardware to ensure that there are no failures during the presidential elections on July 28th. The auditing process was carried out on Sunday at the Caracas Square headquarters. The entity stated that the objective is to check the vote counting system and its components. During the process, representatives of the political organizations and the electoral body's technicians verified that the machines were produced with the corresponding certification codes. The purpose of this audit is to verify the hardware and software as well as the data of the voting machines and technological solution test to confirm their optimal operating conditions. Venezuelan presidential hopefuls continue campaigning ahead of elections. This way, the Chavista forces continue to fine-tune their structure together with President Maduro. More details from our correspondent, Leonel Ratamal.
With 2 weeks to go before the elections, the Chavistas continue to organize through the electoral mechanism called 1x10x7, with which they seek to activate the entire Chavista base, leaders, sympathizers, and militants.
Well, we are oiling the machinery today to give on July 28th a resounding victory to the Bolivarian Revolution and to the memory of our eternal commander, Hugo Rafael Chávez Frías, and above all to that man who has been loyal to the revolutionary people, the Chavistas and the Venezuelan people, which is President Nicolás Maduro.
We're checking the 1x10x7 of each of the heads of the UBCH, of the unit's structure, of the CLAP, of communal councils, of street chiefs, and everything has been a success. Today we will be successful.
President Maduro participated in the checkup day, making face-to-face contacts with the organizations throughout the country to continue giving indications of the work that remains to be done. He also presented a book, a film, and a television series on his figure and political struggle.
Here we have only one objective, to defend the independence of Venezuela, to defend the homeland, and to make, as we are going to do, a revolution within the revolution. Because we are going for more changes and more transformations that the people demand and that the people need.
The far-right candidate Edmundo González held an event at the Central University of Venezuela in spite of the refusal of the authorities of the university and other university sectors. The rally was also criticized by candidate Antonio Carri, who called for the preservation of university autonomy. Instead, he proposed to hold a debate in its facilities. Candidate Enrique Marquez also registered activity on his social networks with proposals focused on encouraging participation on July 28.
Let's vote. Vote for you. For your future, for your family. Your vote is power to change authority. Vote without fear.
From the border state of Táchira, the candidate for Arepa Digital, Daniel Ceballos, delivered proposals to modernize the state.
Thanks to new technologies, people can once again recover their capacity to decide. Enough of particular interests, enough of the interests of parties, enough of the interests of some elites to control the Venezuelan state.
Candidate Luis Eduardo Martinez called for maintaining a climate of peace and dialogue beyond the results of July 28th.
But more important is July the 29th and the days after, because it will demonstrate the maturity of the Venezuelan people and the capacity of the political leadership to understand each other for the sake of Venezuela. Venezuela cannot stand any more confrontation, it cannot stand any more fights. A great portion of the situation we are living in is the result of that sterile confrontation.
2 weeks remain for Venezuelans to go to the polls to cast their votes and elect the next president.
On Monday, Syrians go to the polls to elect the fourth legislature of the People's Assembly, with authorities setting up 8,151 polling stations across the country's 14 provinces. This way, 1,516 candidates are running for the 250 seats in the National Assembly. The voting day will end at 7 p.m. local time and may be extended for a maximum of 5 hours in all of some polling stations. Elections happen despite calls for boycott and attempts to disrupt the process and prevent citizens from exercising their right to vote by terrorist groups and separatist militias in areas outside government control. Regardless, authorities were determined to hold the elections on their packed constitutional date without changes. On Sunday, the leader of the left-wing Communist Party of Nepal, Sharma Oli, got appointed for his fourth term as the country's prime minister. Oli held this position for the first time in 2015 and also served as head of the government from February 2018 to July 2021 in 2 separate terms. Precisely, Oli won the appointment after banking on the support of 166 lawmakers, including 88 from the Nepali Congress. It should be emphasized that the minimum number of seats needed in the 207-member House of Representatives to form a government is 138. This way, he was presented as Prime Minister by President Ramchandra Paudel. On Monday, the President of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, received the Prime Minister of Belarus, Roman Goloshenko. During the meeting, they took stock of the agreements signed between the two countries in 2023 and the path of cooperation, which Maduro described as the time as a new beginning in bilateral relations. In this regard, both authorities shared their vision for the future and reiterated their commitment to strengthen cooperation on strategic sectors. In the meantime, they also agreed to create spaces for the further growth of the strategic alliance, while they also discussed the upcoming presidential elections of July 28th, in which a Belarusian delegation will participate as international observer. On the other hand, both President Maduro and Goloshenko sent fraternal greetings to their people and reaffirmed their will to strengthen brotherhood and solidarity. The President of Colombia, Gustavo Petro, announced that on July 16th he will sign the pension reform recently approved by the Congress of the Republic. Current figures reveal that only 1 out of every 4 Colombians has access to a pension, and only 1 out of every 8 women receives a pension. The pension reform aims to benefit more than 2 million grandfathers and grandmothers who never contributed despite having worked all their lives. The new law will establish a dignified solidarity income, especially for housewives who did not contribute to the system and for the elderly who did not meet the minimum requirements for accessing a pension. Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva received on Monday his Italian counterpart Sergio Mattarella as part of the two nations' interest to strengthen their bilateral relations. During their meeting, the two leaders discussed the conclusion of trade agreements between Mercosur and the European Union, environmental issues and renewable energies. They also expressed their support for the two-state solution for the conflict in Palestine, called for peace in Ukraine and in the Middle East. Besides, both heads of state highlighted the G20's and the G7's efforts to fight hunger and poverty in the world. Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates and more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. The President of Mexico, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, described as regrettable the attacks suffered by the former President of the United States, Donald Trump. In his morning conference on Monday, the President pointed out that nothing related to violence can be justified after considering that such irrational acts do not help or benefit anything, but rather only aggravate the political environment, causing distrust. López Obrador ruled out that the attacks suffered by the former President of the United States will have consequences in Mexico. The Mexican President used the podium of the National Palace to mourn the deadly victims of this event while advocating a political confrontation based on dissidence and peaceful opposition.
And that is what we think, that there should be no violence in the elections. It should be the citizens who freely and peacefully decide who should govern them.
The first Vice President of the United Socialist Party of Venezuela, Diosdado Cabello, criticized the media's coverage of the assassination attempt on former U.S. President Donald Trump. In this context, he explained that the media emporiums are comparing the attack with the criminal actions of the extreme right in the South American country. Cabello pointed out that the Venezuelan people do not deserve the spill of blood because of the right-wing's attempts to destabilize the country. He also affirmed that the revolution is the best option to warrant peace and economic stability in the nation. He also stated that Venezuela condemns the acts of violence registered this Saturday against the U.S. presidential candidate Donald Trump. The Israeli government announced plans to encircle occupied Jerusalem by expanding a block of settlements that will house 100,000 Jewish citizens over the next 4 years. The project is part of Israel's strategic plan to establish Greater Jerusalem through the construction of a network of infrastructure, tunnels and roads that will occupy more Palestinian land. The project will extend from the Israeli northward city of Nazareth to Beersheba in the south of the region, crossing the occupied West Bank to connect with the settlements in that territory. Palestinian experts point out that these actions are considered illegitimate as they are conducted on occupied Palestinian lands through the demolition of homes and land confiscation. Also in Palestine, at least 5 people were killed after an Israeli bombardment on the Maghazi refugee camp in the central Gaza Strip. Wafa news agency reported 3 children among the victims of the airstrike, which targeted a home of the Al-Manama family. The bombing occurred simultaneously with other strikes on the Al-Maghraka area and the neighboring Nusayrat and Bureish camps, all in the heart of the destroyed enclave. The attacks come 2 days after the massacre perpetrated by Israel in the humanitarian zone of Mawasi, where 90 people were killed and more than 300 injured. In this context, and during Sunday, Israel perpetrated a new massacre by attacking a school of the United Nations Agency for Palestinian Refugees located in the refugee camp of Nusayrat. The bombing claimed the lives of 17 people, while 80 were wounded. From UNRWA, they denounced that Israel has destroyed 180 facilities of the agency since the beginning of the genocidal war in the Gaza Strip in October 2023. 38,584 Palestinians have been killed since then, while more than 88,000 have been wounded. On Monday, the president of the Palestinian National Council, Rouhi Fatou, accused Israel of increasing the number of massacres in the Gaza Strip. In this regard, Fatou denounced the latest massacres perpetrated by Israel on the school of the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees and the humanitarian zone of Mawasi. In the meantime, the Palestinian leader also called on the United Nations and global organizations to protect the rights of women and minors. Furthermore, Fatou accused the Biden administration responsible for thousands of victims killed and injured daily by U.S. weapons and smart bombs in the Gaza Strip. We have a final short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience. You can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Final short break. Don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. In Somalia, at least 9 people were killed and 20 others injured after a terrorist car bomb attack in the capital, Mogadishu. In this sense, police authorities reported that the car exploded in front of a coffee shop in the bombed-here neighborhood where locals were watching the final of the UEFA Euro Cup Championship held in Germany. The explosion, which also caused material damage to vehicles parked in the vicinity, occurred in the context where 5 members of the extremist group Al-Shabaab were imprisoned and 3 guards were killed on Saturday in a shootout during an escape attempt of inmates in the Mogadishu Central Prison. The third plenary session of the 20th Central Committee of the Communist Party of China began on Sunday. The topics to be discussed until next July 18th will be related to the country's modernization, the deepening of the reform, and the current economic situation of the Asian nation. According to the Xinhua news agency, the meeting stressed that the goal is to further improve the socialist system with Chinese particularities and promote the modernization of the national governance system. In addition, the Political Bureau reiterated China's goal of becoming a great modern socialist country. At the meeting, they also called for the proper management of the relationship between economy and society, government and market, efficiency and equity, vitality and order, development and security. On Sunday, the Future Movement of Venezuela presented the Teresa Carreño Theater in Caracas, a film and book inspired by President Nicolás Maduro, who thanked the authors for their interesting and moving work. The film, Nicolás, conceived as a series of 5 chapters, was directed by professor and filmmaker Grayson Chacon, and the first session summarizes in 63 minutes part of the president's life with his family, childhood, friends, and young people. Chacon told Venezolana de Televisión that it was a challenge and that many of the actors had no acting experience. Maduro said he was impressed and thanked the efforts of those who portrayed the characters and announced that the story will continue. On Monday, Argentina's fans celebrated winning the 2024 Copa America after beating Colombia 1-0. In this way, the Argentine national football team won their 16th trophy in just the 47th edition of this continental tournament, thanks to a goal scored by Lautaro Martinez in overtime. It is worth noting that with this victory, the Argentine national team surpassed Uruguay as the most winning team in Copa America, as they also materialized a back-to-back championship after the win in the 2021 edition.
To see Argentina be the champion of the Americas and the world, and now we're going for another cup. The only thing I ask is, wait a minute, Di Maria, come on Di Maria, you still have one more World Cup in you. Don't be mean, please stay. We will beg like we did for Messi, stay for one more World Cup.
For this to happen in this socio-cultural and economic context is like a lifeline for Argentina.
Some highlights of the match included the departure of captain and Argentine star Lionel Messi in the minute 65 after suffering an ankle injury. It was also Angel Di Maria's last game for the Albiceleste national team, where he played for more than 15 years. After the match, Colombian players James Rodriguez won the Best Player of the Tournament award, while Emiliano El Dibu Martinez was the best goalkeeper and Lautaro Martinez won the Golden Boot after scoring 5 goals during the tournament, including the one that defined the final match. As Argentina reaches a new milestone in football history, Lionel Messi has broken the world record for most titles. In this sense, the 37-year-old won his 45th team trophy overall, making him the most decorated footballer of all time, ahead of Brazil's Dani Alves. With the win, Messi also claimed his 3rd international trophy in a row after reaching the gold in the 2021 and 2024 Copa America, in addition to the World 2022 FIFA Cup. The superstar's career highlights include 12 La Liga titles, 10 with Barcelona, 2 with Paris Saint-Germain, and 4 UEFA Champions League trophies, and 17 local league cups titles, 15 with Barcelona, 1 with PSG, and 1 with Inter Miami. Messi also holds the record for most Ballon d'Or awards, with 8 and 6 European Golden Boots. We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net, and join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok as well. For TeleSUR English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.